Okay, so this week in class we went back over exercise intensities, and we also we presented our interviews. So with exercise intensities going into since I'm going into say PE and weights teaching for high school students, it's important to understand uh, different intensities and when to advocate to use them. So say if we're trying to push our athletes to grow um, in their strength portion, sometimes you want to start out lower intensity, higher reps, and then if you want to really push them towards the end to get them to max out and stuff like that, you want to obviously go higher intensities um, with lower reps so that they can really push themselves. With the Borg scale, the modified Borg scale, not the 6 to 20, we're going to 1 to 10. It's important to really kind of monitor your athletes and your students, see how they're feeling. It can be different every day. It just depends on each person differently. We need to be checking in on our athletes, making sure they feel okay what they're doing and everything. We don't have to just keep hounding them and making them push harder. Like we mentioned in class, with the Borg scale, say someone's saying that they're feeling like they're pushing like a 9, well, they're probably really doing a 7, but that doesn't mean that we need to push them harder. It just means we need to take into account how they feel today, because that's more what the Borg scale is. It's a how you feel quotient rather than a actual scientific portion. I think it's really important to just kind of take into account that we don't always know what's best, but we need to try our hardest. And with intensities like that, we need to temper our expectations and not just push harder and harder, because that could really injure our athletes and turn them away from physical fitness in the future. And then with the interviews that we did today, I thought the knowledge that everyone presented was, for the most part, not everyone had the same future job, but a lot of the information still stood for everything. Every relationship's important, especially when you're trying to get the job. You need to be making meaningful relationships with everyone you meet, because it doesn't matter. You don't know in the future who's important to your future job, because it could just be anybody. It could be someone that you meet on the street. And then a lot of them talked about how their people stress not being overly invested, I guess. It's not to worry too much about what you're doing now, because in the long run it might not mean anything in the future. Specifically more about grades and that. I feel like that's really important to think about, just put into perspective that what you're stressing about now doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to ruin your future. And I think that's something that we need to think about with our athletes as well, because say we're training them to be athletes now, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be athletes in the future. And we need to really focus on the future aspect of things and realize that as it is, some things aren't as bad as we think. Thank you.